Welcome to On Air Radio, the show that talks about anything and everything, from current affairs to local news to food and beverage. With your hosts, Joey Ruse, the voice of God, and Big JP. How y'all doing? Ladies and gentlemen, I am Big JP. To my left, at the studio, at the dungeon, is my boy Joey Ruse.
What's up, people? Good evening.
And of course we have the man, the myth, the legend, the voice of God.
Very happy to be here. If you don't start with that reverb, we're going to break the goddamn button.
Love the voice of God. Anyway. You know, we got my boy Ed Opperman coming on today. Who else? What's the other guy's name here?
Well, in the first half we have Ed Opperman, a 30-year private investigator. Yep. And then in the second half of the show we have Thomas Banks,
that's it.
who wrote a very good book called Indefensible. He'll be talking to us about it later on.
Let's start off with the Around the Room. Around the cave. The dungeon. There we go. Around the dungeon, we'll call it. Start off with Mr. Ruse. How was your week?
The week was good. Last week was good. The weekend was great. We're here again this week. I'm excited about today's show. Put a lot of thought into this, and we're so glad to have Ed and Tom joining us later on.
I do agree with that.
Yeah, we have a really big show today. Two guests, and I'm really impressed with the numbers we've been getting. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening.
Yes, without the people out there, the crowd, we got to figure out a name for our people.
Yes,
it'll come to us.
The mic heads,
the Dungeonites,
the Dungeonites.
Yeah. Hey,
anyway, but without the people out there listening and downloading us, we wouldn't be here.
Before we go any further, Jay, last week we were supposed to bring up the results of our survey that was on our website. We didn't get a chance to do it, and we only
fucking bullshit.
So we had it up for about a week, and I have to tell you that the response was really good, and overwhelmingly, I think I don't have the numbers in front of me, 98% of you said that you like the show and that you'd like to see us go a little longer than an hour. So thank you very much for your contribution to it. And we only had one person say that you guys suck and should go to hell.
Yeah, that was my mother.
No, that was probably Eddie. That was probably Eddie from the Ham Radio Show.
Probably.
But you know what? I think we should really get confirmation from our boy Obama. We go to him for everything. He's like the guiding light in here for now, till we get a new president. But what do you think? Should we go to him?
Go ahead, go.
All right, why not? And why did it disappear? That's nice. Screwing my shit.
Why do we put him in front of the board? Do you have any reason?
Because he claimed experience.
Sorry.
So.
There are white folks, and then there are ignorant motherfuckers like you.
That falls on me. But anyway, okay. I had it all queued up, and it just died.
Yeah, I'll bet. Okay.
So, voice of God, how was your week?
My week is fine. Like I tell you, we ought to get started with the show because we have a really big show today, and I think we'll throw it right back to Joe and let him get the show started.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely have a good show today. We have 2 interviews. I'm pretty excited for both of them, and I'll go really quick to my week. My week was actually really, really awesome. I had a quick funny story. My daughter. So my wife and I go to the mall. We're doing some shopping, and we go into the store. And my wife says to my daughter, now mind you, my daughter is 3, for those of you out there that don't know or you're new to the show. I talk about her as much as I can because she's my best friend. But we go to the mall, and my wife says to her, Oriella, she goes, come over here, hold my hand. We're in a big store. I don't want to lose you. So my daughter looks up at her, and she goes, you ain't going to lose me. I'm 16. And then walks away. I was like, what? You're not 16. Get back here.
Was she counting the months or the minutes?
I don't know. But this is
How old is Ariella now?
She's 3. She'll be
3,
4 this year.
Yeah. They get smarter and
Shit's
smarter.
getting way too complicated for me.
Absolutely.
That's the parent talk. Shit's getting way too complicated for me.
You know, I think there is a time when they're smarter than us, and then it gets down, they get dumber than us, and they go back to getting smarter than us again. I don't know.
Yeah, the kids are they're way too advanced for their own good.
Well, I have, my kids are all grown and everything, but truth of the matter is I think that they're just starting to realize at this age, and they're in their 40s, my kids, that I'm not as dumb as they thought I was or something. I used to say that about my father. The older I get, the smarter he gets.
Ain't that the truth?
Ain't that the truth? That's right.
So, my week was good, and just doing my thing and waking up every day, which any day I wake up is a good day. So, but we ready to go to the phones?
We are ready to go up to the phones. We have on hold, we have Ed Opperman on our Newsmaker hotline.
Okay.
And we're going to bring him up here for us in a sec. Did you turn this up?
Yeah.
Okay.
The story you're about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Well, for us, it would be the story you're about to hear.
That was my favorite show, Dragnet.
Dragnet, yeah, that's a good show.
Jack Webb.
Do we got him?
We got him.
Oh, Ed?
Hey.
Oh, there he is.
Welcome to On Air Radio.
Holy crap, I jumped out of the chair.
There we go.
Just sitting here quietly observing and listening.
Listen to the hilarity that takes place around here.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
crazy. So far, we've had
mass chaos in
How
here.
many technical glitches have we had since we started?
What, like a half a dozen? And we haven't even been on the radio for like 10 minutes.
We're already falling behind. So Ed, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. It really feels good to hear a couple old Staten Island guys.
Hey,
we appreciate any Staten Islander that's willing to come on this show. We got nothing but love for.
There you go.
So give us a little background here, Ed. What is your past history with Staten Island?
Okay, we grew up in the Bronx. Oh boy, grew up in the Bronx. Number 6 train line between Parkchester and Soundview Avenue. Moved to Staten Island when I was in the 8th grade, to Annandale, Eltingville area. And then, when I was like a teenager, like 19 years old, I moved to those places behind the Staten Island Mall.
Oh yeah, the condos are back there.
Right, the condos. But when they first built them, as a matter of fact, I actually sat there in that big giant 7-story building. I sat there and watched them build across the street. Then I went across the street. I bought a condo over there. But I used to own front page beepers in the Staten Island Mall.
Oh, I remember that place.
Yeah, everybody remembers it. Yeah,
Crap.
that was me.
Jeez, I'm having flashbacks now.
does anybody even know what a beeper is these days?
No.
I don't think so, right?
Hey, you guys want to laugh? I was the first guy in the whole country to go into a mall and sell beepers and cell phones from a kiosk in a mall.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice. For all you kids out there that might not know what a beeper is, go on Google and Google beepers, and then you'll know. You'll understand the story.
You guys remember the first beepers? How big they were? They were the size of Sony Walkmans. They were
It was like a portable VCR on your belt.
I know, yeah.
And the only ones who had it were drug dealers and doctors, right?
Yeah,
Pretty much.
well, same thing.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, right?
They got to prove it. Hey, you don't want to laugh, though, man. We used to get subpoenas, from the cops. They wanted to find out who owned the beeper and stuff like that. And, we used to kind of fight the subpoenas because, I'm an old-fashioned Staten Island guy, right?
Sure.
And I got to make friends with everybody, right? Mm-hmm. But one time, they called up and they want to know, hey, who owns this beeper? They're giving us the number. They're giving us the ESN number. And I instructed all the employees, to give them a hard time. And they said, well, why do you want to know? He says, well, the beeper's found on a dead body. We got to know who this guy is.
Oh, man.
Well, I think that's a good enough reason, though.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well,
We actually used to tip off the guys, though, if it was, it was regular guys, and we get a subpoena, we would stall the cops, and then we would call the guy up if he was a good guy.
Wow.
my brother used to work at the landfill. They used to find one there every 2 weeks.
What, a dead body or a beeper?
Both.
So, Ed, give us a little story here. What do you do now?
Well, okay. I'm a private investigator and a digital forensic investigator. I've been pretty much a PI my whole life. I started back in the late 70s and the 80s back in New York City as an information broker. I had a source back in New York who could, if you had an unlisted phone number, I had a source in the phone company. So you gave me the number. I can come back with a name and address for an unlisted number. And also, too, on those little, we get an actual printout from the phone company. And I could get a list of all the local calls made from that number and all the long-distance calls made from that number. At the top of the report, I would get a copy of their name, their address, their phone number, their bank account number, their work phone number, and their Social Security number. So back in the 80s, this is a gold mine of information for a private investigator to have. So I pretty much cornered the market on that.
Yeah, that's a lot of information.
Really made a big name for myself back in New York City with all the big PIs and all the big law firms and stuff like that. I've done other things over the years. I own a nightclub. I own one of those horse and carriages that goes around Central Park. I've done a lot of stuff over the years. At the beeper company I had there, a little beauty parlor supply business, a lot of stuff, a lot of typical Staten Island type stuff, And now I'm a private investigator still. I'm also a digital forensic investigator, which means that people all over the country, lawyers and other private investigators, will send me cell phones and computer hard drives, and we extract the evidence from the cell phone or the hard drive, and then we create a report that can be used as an exhibit in court.
Oh, that's interesting.
If you don't mind, I just want to ask you a question because we were having this debate on our last show. So where do you stand with this whole Apple thing? With the cell phone and the police trying to get the Apple to crack the phone and put the back door, that's it, on the phones.
Okay, very interesting. Okay. Interesting to me. Probably the audience won't care, but here's the deal.
Well, we do.
I have been breaking passwords on iPhones for years. There's a software called Celebrite, costs about $10,000. You get this software and you could break the password on all the old. Right now, there's no iPhone that cannot be broken except for the most recent operating systems. Now, what happens is, okay, here's how it works. You take the iPhone, you plug it into the little same power cord you use to charge up your phone. You plug it into the computer. Mm-hmm. You run this Celebrite software. The software sends a little file up to the phone that says, "Hey, phone, we're going to send more than 10 sequences of numbers, password guesses." So don't set off that, it's called a red lock, that if you try and put in the wrong password in 10 times, the iPhone will red lock and then you lost all the data. So you cannot unlock that phone, then you've lost all the data. You can unlock it, but you can't get the data back. That's the problem.
Right, the security wipe.
Right, there you go. Now, for some crazy reason, with this phone, I don't know what's going on. Because let me tell you something. I subscribe to all the forensic magazines. I'm in all the chat rooms with these guys, the top guys in the country. Guys, trust me. I'll tell you later on. I've done some big cases, so I know the top guys. And the thing is, no one can understand what's going on with this, because for some reason they didn't wait for the new upgrade from Celebrite, which was the company they would use. Because when a new operating system comes out, they got to write some extra software and figure out how to do it. It takes a little while. But for some reason, in this case, in San Bernardino, they did not do that, and they red locked the phone. And now that's it. There's nothing you could do now. It's done. And even Apple came back. I read all the documents from Apple coming back. They can't understand why this was done either. It makes no sense.
Mm-hmm. Is it true that Apple had already provided the FBI with all the information that they were looking for, and that what the FBI is looking for them to do now is to write this code into the operating systems to allow them a backdoor so they don't have to go to Apple?
You never have to go to Apple. I have the same software the FBI uses. Okay, if you look at my bio, it's up there on IMDb. When I first started doing cell phone forensics, the guys who I was working with were the guys who were searching for bin Laden in Afghanistan. These are the guys that cloned bin Laden's phone. Wow. So you can't get any higher. I know these guys.
Damn.
And what happened is, then I got, when I started doing the cell phones, I says, you know what? There's a niche here for me that I can use this for infidelity investigations, to catch people cheating on their cell phone. So I created this little niche for myself. I started doing a ton of phones, more than anybody, back then in like 2003. And, and then I got involved in a lot of big high-profile cases, like the Tiger Woods case. I did all the cell phones for the Tiger Woods mistresses. I did the Wienergate case. I was involved in the Zimmerman case, the Charlie Sheen case. My client was the girl that got beat up in that hotel room, Capri Anderson.
Oh,
so
wow.
So now all these cell phone companies are all boring guys. They got nothing to do all day long. They write code and stuff like that on cell phones. So they like to talk to me because I can talk to them about these big cases. You know? So I have access to pretty much the highest level in this industry. And they don't need Apple for any of this. They should have just sent some money over to Celebrite and had them working. I hired a couple more techs to work on this, and to create that patch to avoid creating the red lock. Because now once it's red locked, there's nothing you can do. And I don't think even Apple can do anything about it.
Government efficiency at its best.
Yeah, really. I always wondered about that. I mean, if the government can't get guys good enough to do this, what are they looking for Apple for? I mean, they have the best people in the government to do this kind of work.
Government buys the same software I buy. Absolutely. There's no difference. And the other thing, too, is even when I was working on a case involving Sarah Palin and Todd Palin, and because it was a big sex scandal with with Todd Palin in Alaska. And in fact, it culminated in a congressional investigation into Secret Service misbehavior. But when I was working on that, I actually got a version of paraben device seizure that wasn't even available to the government yet because they were excited about the case I was working for, and they gave me a beta version that wasn't even available to the public yet.
Damn.
I think you just blew us all away here.
Yeah,
we're all kind of sitting here looking at the computer screens and the microphones, going, "Okay."
I see he also was involved with the Ashton Kutcher case, or with him.
That was kind of interesting, you know. What was I think Brittany Jones or something like that was the girl's name that he was cheating with, the first one, and she came to. He denied it. He says, "No, I didn't know this girl, whatever." And so they sent me the phone, and the way the story goes is that he had kind of made her delete his phone number and stuff and his pictures and stuff from her phone. So she sent us the phone. This was a young model, so there was like 3,000 photographs on this phone. Okay, this is a huge amount of deleted data that we recovered. Now, what's interesting with this is, in Hollywood, is that even after I recovered a picture of her caller ID with Ashton Kutcher's phone number and Ashton Kutcher's name on it. Wow. And I produced all that in a report. In fact, I used to have I still do. I have the report on my Facebook page. You can look it up. But because of Demi Moore's publicist and Ashton Kutcher's publicist were so powerful, they just said, "Oh, no, this never happened. He wasn't cheating." And everyone just said, "Okay, that's it. It's dead. The story's dead." But then he got caught cheating again, like 9 months later on. And that time, because Demi Moore left him, then now everybody believes my client.
Wow. When the truth comes out, huh? Let me ask you this. I see here, I'm looking at your bio here, that you ran the Bulls in Pamplona. How cool is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. At the time, I was, I owned a nightclub in Manhattan, and I was a knock-around guy on Staten Island. And me and my friend Johnny Motz from Staten Island, he's still over there right now, from South Beach. He's a notorious, well-known guy.
I've heard the name, yeah.
But he looks and acts exactly like Joe Pesci from the movie Goodfellas. Okay.
My favorite movie.
That's who I brought with me to Spain. Okay. So we went up there, man, me and this guy, and oh my God. You know what? I can go like 2 hours telling stories about the trip in Spain. But it's the coolest thing in the world. The women there are so beautiful. The parks are so beautiful. The running with the Bulls part isn't everything because it happens in the morning. So, but there's all day long, there's marching bands in the street. You dance in the street all day long. You drink wine. The wine is so cheap. The champagne is so cheap. It's not as cool as it now as it was then because it's got more commercialized. Yeah. But back then when we did it was like 85, 87. It was the coolest thing in the world.
That's great. What an experience.
I know. Like, how many people could actually say they did that?
Oh, sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
And
that's one of the reasons why I did it.
And yeah, right. At least you got something behind you. Now, the nightclub in Manhattan, is it a known nightclub in Manhattan?
Well, it was called Fallout. It was pretty well known at the time. It was only open for a short time, about 2.5 years. It was on a Broadway and Canal, and then we got evicted from the space. But that was quite an adventure.
I can only imagine.
Oh my God!
Good Lord! Now, how do you feel about? Are you into politics and stuff? You do. I see you're an activist here, political activist, a street protester. What do you think of this whole Donald Trump thing? With him getting attacked.
I forgot to mention, I host a radio show now on Friday nights and on Saturday nights.
Wow, plug
it's a
away.
syndicated
Go ahead,
show.
plug it up.
Well, it's called the Opperman Report. And you can find, if you just Google the Opperman Report, you can find all the places we can hear it. It's online. It's on AM, FM all over the country. And I've done a bunch of shows about Donald Trump. I've had my own personal run-ins with Donald Trump.
Is he as big a douche as I hear?
This sounds like it's going to be good, so everybody quiet down. I want to hear this.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, he is? Okay. That's what I heard. I heard he's like a huge douche.
I love the dramatic pause, too.
Yeah. Well, I had to get myself settled in my chair to tell the story. He is a super douche. Okay, back in the 80s, remember when he was cheating on his wife with Marla Maples?
Oh, yes. Sure, yeah.
Okay. At the time, I used to fly back and forth across the country a lot. Part of my adventurous life, okay? So I used to date a lot of flight attendants. I know a lot of flight attendants. So one night we're out in Manhattan, and I'm hanging out with these flight attendant friends of mine. And they says, well, you'll never guess who was hiding out in our apartment. And I says, oh. And I go, Marla Maples. She came because the paparazzi was all over Marla Maples. This was the weekend that they got caught on that ski slope in New York City. Where it was all over the cover of the National Enquirer.
Yeah.
So I says, oh, wow, cool. I says, hey, we should go and put a tap on the phones. I could tap the phones.
Okay.
And when Donald calls, we could tape record the calls, and then we could sell it to the National Enquirer. This is a great idea. And I was pretty much just kidding around. But they said, no, we can't do that. We can't do that. So I'm hanging out in Manhattan. I used to hang out at the Doral Inn in Manhattan right around the same time. And it was a well-known private investigator there who was very connected up to Donald Trump. And he was connected with Giuliani and all the big shots in New York. And so I repeated the joke. I said, hey, I ran into Marla Maples. I'm going to tap the phones. But, big joke, right? Okay, just kidding around. And they must have ran to Trump and put together a file on me for Trump.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. My friends, my own buddies, ran to Trump and rat me out.
Wow.
And what happened was, about a year after that, I run into Trump at the U.S. Open. Okay? And I'm there to watch the what do you call it, the tennis match, Mm-hmm. And Donald Trump is about a stone's throw away. I could throw a piece of popcorn and hit him. The whole game, he's standing up, giving me the stink eye, dirty looks through this whole freaking game. Wouldn't take it. And then, forget it. So I run into him. I've had a little run-ins with him again, across the years. I sold my condo to one of his bodyguards. The guy who runs his, security right now, Keith, I did some work for him. And, right now I go all the time. I broadcast live from these Trump rallies here in Las Vegas all the time.
Wow.
Ed, I'm looking at your picture that they took of you here on your Opperman Report website, and
he looks like he's 12.
No, well, no. Actually, if you look at it, doesn't he have like a sort of a resemblance to Ted Cruz a little?
Oh no! Where do you get that from?
I don't know. Just like the side view that they have here.
No way. He looks like he's 12.
It looks like he's 12.
He does.
Good Lord. Sorry, Ed. We just got a little sidetracked.
Who'd you say I look like?
Ted Cruz.
Yeah,
I can't
Oh my
believe
God.
it. Oh my God.
Like, what was that guy? Richard Gere, they used to say.
Yeah, at least. Ted Cruz looks like Grandpa Munster.
I got run over by the bulls.
You have any horses in the race here on the political front?
Yes, absolutely. I like Bernie Sanders. I'm an old-fashioned leftist. I've always been on the left. In New York City, as a youth, I was a Yippie, the Youth International Party there on the Lower East Side. I've always been an activist, and I endorse Bernie. In fact, I just came up with some, but I'm in touch with the other side too as well. You know, I've had Bob Morrow, who wrote the book "The Clinton War on Women," and I just had on St. John Hunt, the nephew of E. Howard Hunt, the Watergate burglar. I just had him on the show, and he's working for Roger Stone, who just did the book about the Bush family, the Bush crime family. You know, so I just had on my show exclusively. It was on Saturday afternoon, last Saturday passed up, Sally Miller, who was Bill Clinton's mistress back in the 80s. And she has not done an interview in all this time, okay? And she just reported on my show exclusively that both Hillary and Bill were snorting coke and using drugs.
Wow.
And that Hillary had 2 abortions while she was married.
Good Lord.
I could believe it.
I could believe it,
I
too.
could believe it, yeah.
I totally believe it.
The lion hag that she is.
Children don't really fit into their lifestyle. I'm surprised they had the one they had. But, you know, to each his own.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So back in New York, are people falling for Trump or what?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Trump.
Really?
It's a big Trump town. Not only in New York, it seems to be. Well, I'm sure you read the papers too. You know, just all over. It's Trump mania. The more shit he pulls out, the more they love the guy. What can I say? I think they're just not used to straight talk. You know, and
well, Trump has definitely tapped into some aggression here.
Absolutely, and
say the least.
People have been fed up with political correctness for a long time, and this guy is anything but politically correct.
I think what I don't know. Ed could probably give us a better insight on this, but my opinion is that people relate in a way to Trump because he's not your typical politician. Like he doesn't follow the politician's handbook. He goes in like a normal Joe, says what he feels, and that's about it.
Absolutely.
And I still say that he basically says what 85 to 90% of America feels, but is afraid to say.
Blue collar America, yeah. It's true, yeah. I agree with that. And Trump has this, they used to call Ronald Reagan the great communicator, but Trump has this way of communicating with the with people of all classes.
Yeah, I know, but I've read some transcripts of some of his speeches. I've read transcripts of some of his answers at the debates, and he doesn't.
They say he doesn't prepare for the debates.
No,
he just walks in and wings it.
He walks in and wings it, but you can tell when you read his answers. I don't understand how he's doing so well. But
there you go.
That's the thing.
Nobody does, especially the Republican hardliners.
Yeah,
they can't believe it.
Ed, I've told these guys before, is that I don't have a horse in this race on either side. I'm conservative, or I'm a small R Republican. You can look that up, and because we don't have time to explain it now, but. I'm looking at these candidates, and I'm at the point right now where in actuality, my consent on this whole thing is withdrawn, and I'm not sure exactly where I'm going with this. So I don't know. Trump definitely has something. Ted Cruz is constitutionally ineligible.
Well.
Marco Rubio is constitutionally ineligible. Who's gone now?
He's gone.
Oh, you should have seen the Twitter war I got into yesterday over this. Oh my gosh.
Well, the old saying, when fools choose a leader, they choose from amongst themselves.
Preach it, bro. Preach it.
You got anything coming up, Ed? Anybody for your radio show coming up?
Yeah, I got this. Let me see. Friday night. Friday night I got some interesting stuff. I got this guy. It's exclusive information again. It was about the World Trade Center bombings in New York City. Remember the dancing Israelis from Urban Moving Systems?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, well, my guest Friday night in the first hour is John Messeria. He's a filmmaker and a videographer and stuff like that, researcher. And he filed with the Freedom of Information Act to get all the FBI documents on these Israeli movers. And the information he got is unbelievable. Okay, and it's totally exclusive. He's never talked about it to anybody before. All kinds of crazy stuff. These guys right now, you know what they're doing for a living right now? They're in bomb-sniffing dog business. They're in airport security business and demolition business. That's what these guys do for a living.
Believe that.
So there's a whole bunch of stuff going on with these guys, and I think we have that pretty much exclusive. Coming up on Saturday at 5 p.m., I have Dawn Schiller, who was the 15-year-old girlfriend of John Holmes, the porn guy.
Yeah.
Back in the 70s and 80s.
Mr. Large.
And so, I don't know if you know about him, but he was involved in the Wonderland murders.
Yeah, that's right.
Over there on Wonderland Avenue in the Laurel Canyon.
Sure.
Now,
By the way,
if anybody wants to listen to your show, how should they do that?
well, the best way to find the show is you Google the name Opperman Report, and it'll bring up my website. It's on iHeart, it's on Spreaker, it's on American Freedom Radio, on iTuneIn. You know, you guys are on TuneIn, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's on all that kind of stuff. You got YouTube.
I saw you're on Stitcher.
Yeah. I know.
He's on like 15 different outlets, so.
Well, that's the way you do it.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
But go ahead, go back to what you were saying. Sorry about that.
You know, because you mentioned before Dennis Hoff, you know.
Sure.
Dennis Hoff has a connection to the Wonderland murders.
I didn't know that. No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because Dennis Hoff felt sorry for this guy named Scott Thornton.
Oh yeah, I think we've had Scott Thornton on the show. What was he related to? Refresh my memory about him.
Yeah, Scott Thornton was Liberace. He was like a 14-year-old
That's right. It was Liberace's hump.
Yeah, Liberace got his hands on his kid when he was like 14 years old, and got plastic surgery on his face and all kind of stuff like that. Was pretty much raping his kid.
Right.
And then he went on to becoming Michael Jackson's lover. Scott Thornton was also in a relationship with Michael Jackson.
I didn't know
that. In fact, I got a picture of Michael Jackson, Liberace, and Scott Thornton on the grounds of Buckingham Palace riding around in a convertible Rolls Royce.
Get out.
Okay, now imagine that. What was the conversation going on in that car?
Yikes. My head would be spinning on that one.
Well, you knew it was the Queen.
But Scott Thornton was there when the murders happened at Wonderland.
Yeah. Oh, my God. I didn't know
Good
that.
Lord.
Yeah, he was at Wonderland when the murders happened, and he testified against Eddie Nash, who made called the hit, who ordered the hit. He's a nightclub owner in California. Wow. And one day, they had him in the witness protection program and everything like that. Good old Scott Thornton, who was a decent guy, by the way. And he was hiding out in a motel room because he's had a drug problem his whole life. And some guys came in one day and started shooting at him. You know, they shot him up. But he had a drug problem his whole life. He went to live at the Bunny Ranch in Reno that was owned by
that's when we had him on the show, when he was living at the Bunny Ranch.
Dennis Hoff, man. You know, so Dennis Hoff takes in these strays, these stragglers, all over the world. But Scott Thornton right now, he's back in prison on some stupid little charge. He got a really bad sentence too, like I think like 20 years or something he's in there doing over a stolen wallet. Wow. Yeah.
They gave him the OJ treatment.
Boy, that's an extreme, getting shot at and stealing a wallet.
Yeah, right.
Well, it's like really cool.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah, it's the way it goes. Sometimes I'll tell you the truth. It's just we've been getting a lot of those guests from Dennis. I mean, we had Lamar Odom, not Lamar Odom, but we had when we were talking about the story, but all those people. Dennis seems to attract those kind of people to the Bunny Ranch. He's a nice guy, though. I mean, he really is a terrific guest when we have him on all the time.
Yeah, surprisingly, he's an old guy too. He's like 75 years old.
Yeah.
Great shape.
He gets laid a lot.
For
that's the great thing.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah, I wonder what keeps him so healthy. Yeah, all these young girls.
He flew Eddie out to his ranch for his birthday party. All expenses paid. Took him, got him a hooker, got him the whole works. Very generous man, but in that respect, and a fun guy to be around. He leads a sort of like a life that I would like to lead vicariously. I guess it's I'm close to his age. We're about the same age, Dennis and I, and I can't do what he does. Too bad.
Well, Ed, we're going to have our second guest coming on soon, so plug us up. What do you got?
Well, if anybody wants to get hold of me, you need a private investigator, you can reach me at Opperman Investigations or my website, emailrevealer.com. Do all kinds of online investigations like cyber stalking investigations, or I invented a search where if you think your wife is cheating on you or your husband's cheating on you, you give me their email address, I trace it back to online dating websites.
There you go.
So do all kind of PI stuff, anything you need, really. I can help you out. You get in trouble, give me a call.
Nice.
The other thing is my radio show, Friday nights and Saturday nights, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, The Opperman Report.
Okay.
I think we're going to definitely have Ed on again.
Yes, we will.
And what we'll do is we're going to give him like a half of our segment and just let him go with anything and everything. All guns blazing.
Any
Great
story you
stories,
want to
Ed.
tell us.
Yeah,
Any
great
stories you want to
stories.
tell us, Ed.
Hey, he's
I'll tell you what,
really
when
quick,
I come back, I'll tell you all about Reverend Bob Levy from the Howard Stern Show,
Oh,
who was
Jesus.
also from Staten Island, and how we knew each other when we were kids. We didn't even realize it.
He's a graduate of CSI. He got his paralegal studies,
There you go.
his degree. Nice.
Yeah, well, it's funny because now I call it CSI because it sounds like crime scene investigation, but it's really a college of stoned idiots. But nobody knows that off of Staten Island.
Yep, only Staten Islanders would understand that humor.
I know.
But
all right, guys. Thank
Ed,
you so
we really
much, man.
appreciate you coming on and giving us your time. Again, we're gonna have you on. I just actually friended you on Facebook, and we're gonna keep you on our Rolodex here. We're gonna have you on again.
All right, guys. Anytime. Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Ed.
I appreciate it.
Bye.
That was interesting.
Very interesting guy.
So that was Ed Opperman, folks. A really great interview. A lot of fun there.
I think we should definitely have him on again, and definitely give him like just a platform. Let him go out there, all guns blazing. It doesn't seem like, I'll be honest with you, it doesn't seem like he's gonna hide anything. But that's pretty cool, Joe. You got something that you can use on ham radio now.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
I should tell Eddie. He's going to probably want to interview him now.
Yeah, well, he can't, so he's mine.
Yeah, he belongs to me.
He's mine. But
all right,
Look
so
at this guy.
I think we're going to take a quick time out here, and we're going to get ready for our next guest.
There you go.
And this is the On-Air Radio Show, and you just heard Ed Opperman, and we will see you back shortly.
yeah, I would say in about 3 minutes or so.
All right.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we will be right back.
On the phone with us right now is Mr. Thomas Banks. Tom is the author of an excellent book out right now, available on Amazon, called Indefensible. Tom, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, guys.
So, Tom, we got a chance to talk a little bit earlier today, and which was a great conversation. I appreciate your time in kind of getting to know each other before we got started here.
Same here.
So one of the things about Tom that I've come to admire even more is that he is a cigar aficionado.
Nice.
Yes, yes.
So he fits in perfect with all of us.
Does your wife
There
let you
is a
smoke in the
perfect
house?
world out there.
Yeah, there is. Joe, you ask again.
I said, does your wife let you smoke in the house?
Say again, please.
Does your wife let you smoke in the house?
No, I don't get. No, I do not get to smoke in the house.
I know. That's the question I get. The same thing as it's my house. I can't smoke my cigar.
But Tom, you got to tell him where you were smoking your cigar when we were talking today, because that was.
This
perfect.
morning I was having a cup of coffee at a Panera on the patio, smoking a cigar and talking with Joe.
Oh, okay. Very nice.
Damn, that's the coolest Panera.
Isn't that
Oh,
great?
my God.
And where are you now?
I'm in Orange County, California.
That's why.
And they let you smoke near a Panera in California?
Well, I have to be on the patio out in the back where there isn't anybody, but that's okay.
All right. Was that the picture you sent me this afternoon?
I was actually at a neighborhood cigar lounge I frequent, and so I was sitting there smoking an Asylum 13, and since you sent me a picture of your cigars, I thought I'd send you one of mine.
We were sending cigar pics.
Okay. It sounds almost erotic. But,
Got a little
We were
bromance
cigar
going on
chatting.
here.
I'll show you yours, or you show me mine.
Yeah, we got a little bromance here.
Yeah. So,
All right.
Mine was a 770, so I think I had them beat.
Oh.
Whoa.
yeah, but my little Rocky Patel edges don't measure up to that. Yeah. So Tom, been reading the book, and I finished it this afternoon. And right after we spoke, I actually finished the last few pages. When I was talking to you, I told you I was in the last chapter. I was actually on. I had the Kindle format. I was on page 308 of 330. So I was right there at the end. And I have to tell you, an excellent book.
Well, thank you.
One of the questions I'd like to ask you, though, is like, why did you come with this book now?
Well, I was actually sitting at the same Panera with a dear friend of mine one evening, and a drone flew over. And I'm a pilot, and there was my buddy goes, "That looks like fun." And I said, "That looks like fun, but and it just dawned on me what was wrong, that this autonomous technology, and I'm a technologist, as exciting and alluring as it is, has a potential for some dramatic unintended consequences." And then 90 days later, Indefensible was done and published.
Actually, Joe and I were talking about this we talk about this quite a bit actually before the
Yeah.
shows go, about how the unintended consequences of technology.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we're looking at the unintended consequences of security with the Apple situation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the intended consequences is to provide us all security and peace of mind. The unintended consequences, there's terrorist murderers in in San Bernardino, California, that the FBI feels their investigation is stymied. And no one expected that to be the outcome. They were looking just to provide you peace of mind with your content.
Deja vu here. We were just talking, our last guest, who you just preceded, was a PI. And we were just discussing this with him, the Apple thing. Yep. And it was just how funny how you just transitioned right into it.
Yeah, well, he's an expert on the subject, and he was telling us that the reason they had this problem is because they actually bundled the investigation. What they did was they have this 10 password cutoff where the phone actually gets wiped out, and that's exactly what the San Bernardino police did. Unknowledgeable about the situation and screwed up the whole phone, and now no one can get into it, not even Apple, according to our on-air expert. Anyway,
so Tom, how is Indefensible relevant to our current times?
Well, it's pretty obvious that drones in and of themselves have migrated from becoming a military theater application to our own backyards, from real estate agents wanting to take pictures of your house to Amazon wanting to deliver their goods and services. All of that sounds great, and the applications are good, but the reality of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of autonomous devices roaming around will in and of themselves cause challenges, irrespective of whether or not they're embraced by jihadist terrorists.
wow.
Well, you put a good thing into a bad person's hands, and bad things are likely to happen.
Yes,
Right. It's no different than a gun. There's nothing bad about a gun. A gun has no soul. A gun has no purpose. It's the user of the gun, and therein lies the problem. The difference for me, however, is that we are benefits of our constitutional framers that had made the decision that weapons or guns were your constitutional right. Drones, on the other hand, are a privilege. They're not articulated in the Constitution. And so I think they do subject themselves to a little more scrutiny and concern. And I don't really believe I have the right to pilot a drone. As I said, I'm a private pilot with a couple of thousand hours and instrument rating and multi-engine rating. And I'll tell you, the idea of a 3 or 4 pound drone impacting me at 4,000 feet is a little disturbing.
I can imagine it would be.
Do you think that drones should be banned?
I think that drones need to be policed dramatically. I think that registering drones is a total waste of time, because by the time the drone has crashed into wherever it's going, the little tiny registration number will no longer be visible. And we're seeing near misses in aviation a lot. In the last 6 months, there's been over a dozen near misses in aviation. And if we don't find a way to control their positioning, then I would think they'd have to be banned at some level. The real concern for me, though, is that drones are becoming a garage product. Any one of us can build a drone for a couple of $100, which would be totally autonomous, probably smarter than the Apollo spaceship when you get down to it.
Yeah.
And you add a half a pound of explosives or rice and poisoning, and you have a deadly weapon system that is invisible, indefensible. It's not noticed, and it's deployable from the shadows of a minivan that no one would ever notice.
Well, we were talking about this when Joey Ruse was telling me he was reading your book, and he was describing how in the book you talk about terrorists launching one of these and flying it right into a building or something like that, or into Central Park. And I said to him, I said, thinking about it, there's one of those things that you, as an average person, you would never think about.
Right.
But then when Joe posed that to me, I said, wow, I could imagine how easy it would be for somebody who wanted to attack us to just fly one of these through an open office building window and then blow it up.
Yes.
Yep.
Or, as depicted in my novel, the terrorists there were a lot more insidious and were equipping the drones with ricin poisoning, which you and I could make in our kitchens out of castor beans. And ricin is so deadly, less than 2 milligrams will kill you, and there is no antidote. And so if you took the GoPro camera off of a drone and put 6 ounces of ricin on it instead, that's enough deadly force to kill a couple of 100,000 people.
Wow.
That is scary.
It is.
It is very scary. In the book, when the jihadists attacked Bush Stadium, in the end of that scenario, Bush Stadium would be a contaminated environment for many years to come, because how do you get all of that out of there? Wow. If you remember the TV show Breaking Bad, the antagonist in the TV show ended up killing that lady with 1 grain of ricin.
Mm. That's incredible.
It's just blowing our mind right now. Blows our mind.
Well, you're welcome to a big club. I'm hearing from people literally all over the world who are writing me, and they're saying the same things. I'm scared to death.
Yeah.
Well, it's a very timely subject. Given, as you said earlier, the amount of near misses of drones in the air, with commercial airliners, and I mean even Amazon uses drones now, don't they?
Right.
So it's a very timely story, and I think that it's something that a lot of us really need to really consider, because you can't hear these things coming until they're right on top of you.
They're just a little subtle buzz. I mean, it's something we wouldn't notice. We didn't hear the airplanes coming in 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
And we clearly didn't have a response capability at the ready. And I can tell you from my knowledge of technology and such, there is not a response capability that will work. And I believe I depicted a number of them in Indefensible that was a waste of time or didn't have its own consequences. When in one chapter in defense of the White House, they applied an energy weapon, which is really a weapon being developed by Boeing, and they killed some of the drones, and they also took out a gas tanker on Connecticut Boulevard and blew that up and killed a bunch of people all by itself. Wow. No one intends for these things to happen, but it's like whacking at a swarm of bees. How do you compete with that?
That's right. Yeah. So what do you think it's going to lead to? Government legislation against drones, or some sort of licensing system? So like firearms? What do you think will happen?
I think what's going to happen is we're going to see the government take a stand ultimately that there needs to be very active, control over access to these devices. Yeah, even Stephen Hawking said in August of last year, the most dangerous threat that's posed to man today is autonomous weapon systems, and he said they're going to become the Kalashnikovs of the 21st century, which means they're going to become ubiquitous.
Absolutely.
Do you think that? How long do you think before the government will do something about these drones? I mean, right now they want people to lodge them with the FAA, everything, register them and all that BS, which is just a load of crap. Yeah. But I mean, do you think it's going to take like a major catastrophe before the government will step in, or do you think they'll be proactive?
But isn't that the history? It usually takes something tragic to get the attention.
Absolutely, yeah.
And when we see a tragic event, whether it's the downing of an airliner, the crashing of a private plane, we've had encounters with, firefighter aircraft. These are all problems. Even in our own state of California, our genius governor rejected a bill to prohibit drones from being flown around for real estate purposes. Mm-hmm. But he wouldn't sign a bill that prohibited drones from being flown around fires when aircraft are fighting fires in the cities and mountains of California. There's this disconnect that exists, and until there's a catalyzing event, and I fear that it's going to have to be something tragic, I don't think that our government is going to take this seriously. The registration initiative of the FAA last year, as noble as it was, less than a third of the drones that were bought were actually registered. So now we're creating a bunch of criminals of people who are non-registration compliant drone operators, and and imagine swarms of these things, even if they're benign and they're not equipped with explosives, but they're just some nitwit that thinks he's having a good time and he impacts an airliner.
I'm a total idiot with these drones. I don't own one, nor do I want one. I think they're the most retarded thing to ever be created. That's just me.
I always thought of them as
one
toys.
Second, Joe. One second.
Sorry, go ahead.
I do have a question. Wasn't it, what was it, half a pound or 5 pounds they had to be in order for you to register them? What was it, 5 pounds, I think, right?
Yeah, they have to be upward. They can't be, I don't think they can weigh more than 8 pounds, and they have to be, if they're under like a pound or so, like the little tiny drones you buy at the mall that are sitting in the kiosks, little 6 ounce,
right,
quadcopters you buy for your children, those don't count. But once they have the carrying capacity of a half a pound or more, they start to become serious vehicles.
Couldn't someone in their garage build one? Like under, let's say, the 5 pounds that it takes to register it with the FAA and, like you said, make it into a weapon?
Oh, sure. I recently shared a post of a drone that was built out of Legos. Ooh. And as I shared with you this morning, I recently reviewed a computer circuit board that you can buy that's smaller than an iPhone in terms of form factor, and it's just as thin as a circuit board that has all of the technology on it to control the motors, GPS, gyroscopic handling, power control, all of this. And all you have to do is plug the motors in and a battery, and the computer costs $5.
Wow.
$5, not $50, not $500, $5.
That's
so
scary.
4 little electric motors, some wire, a battery, and 2 sticks that you glue together, and you've got a drone.
Oh, we're looking at the picture right now. Here it is, Joe.
Oh, you got it.
See it? Yeah, it's up there right now. Really? Yeah, we're looking at the Lego drone right now.
Wow.
Right.
That's crazy. Just to think that somebody could build something like that out of Legos.
And imagine, I don't know about you gentlemen, but I have 2 boys, one's 22 and one's 9, and we probably have about 12 million pieces of Legos in the house. So I could probably build
you can make an army
with all the Legos I have.
You got a militia there.
That's right.
Good Lord.
So it is a frightening concern, and the fact that they are indefensible because they fly low to the ground, they're below the radar, they're too small to have a radar footprint of substance, they travel slowly, they're quiet, people don't notice them, and no one's going to come in from one location with 50 drones and let them all go. They're going to launch them from 50 locations from 10 miles away, and that would mean our law enforcement would have to be searching a circle of 700 square miles. So if you were 10 miles out from downtown New York City, imagine all the locations a drone could be released that would be relatively innocuous. Some park, a hillside, behind some garage. And you open the sunroof of your soccer mom minivan and let the drone slip away and drive off.
That's a scary thought.
It is, and Tom,
but it's eye-opening too.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And one of the things about your book that I thought was really excellent was the fact that you're so detailed with your description of the technology. You're so descriptive of the scenarios around you. Where do you get your sources for all this?
Well, other than the brilliance that I contain of information that I've developed over 30 years in technology, I actually have at my disposal the most powerful tool on the planet. I have the internet. When I was writing the chapter with respect to the drones being imported in from Mexico, mm-hmm. I was able to go online, find the city in Mexico, find the city across the border, right down to the name of the street the golf course was on where the jihadist waited for his drone. The availability of content is amazing. I'm actually quite amazed that I haven't been called by the NSA or Homeland Security based on the kind of things I've researched.
Well, that was Lord. That was another question I was going to have is, have you had any contact from anybody from the government about the book and about?
No, I haven't, but I can say when the book first came out, one of the first places where the book was purchased was Washington, D.C., because I can track that on Amazon. And so somebody in Washington, D.C. owns my book. I don't know who it is, but I do know
Wow.
that somebody bought it there. And what are the odds that it's just some guy in Washington, D.C. that bought my book?
Some random Joe just was like, "Oh, this book looks interesting."
Right.
I'm surprised the government. I'm surprised the Mexican drug cartel hasn't reached out to you to ask you how they could ship their drugs this way with a drone.
If you saw my latest tweet today on Twitter, at Drone on One, I tweeted out that yesterday in Oklahoma they intercepted a drone that was bringing in cell phones for the inmates.
Oh man. These drones are going to be the ruination of the world.
I'll tell you.
Well, think about it. As benign as bringing in cell phones, obviously bringing in drugs and weapons.
Sure.
These are some very provocative ideas that somebody said to me, "Do you think you should have written the book? Because what if a terrorist reads it?" And I said, "Are you joking?
Really, right?
You don't think they already know about this?"
You think he has to read my book to figure that out?
Yeah, I don't think I am the sharpest knife in the drawer. And the reality is, there are a lot of bad people out there that look to co-opt good technology to apply it against us. And I illustrated in Indefensible that it isn't just some people in the desert of Iraq or Islamabad or any place. It happened to be Kim Jong-un. You know, he stepped up and helped out with the terrorist activity in my novel.
Uh-oh.
That's a guy we all got to watch out for.
We do, and
Lord.
I tell you, this guy's going to make a great movie.
I wrote the book as a call to action more than anything else because I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not worrying about the government stealing my stuff. I'm more worried about us ignoring threats that we will wake up some morning and be blindsided like we were on 9/11, as you shared with me today, Joe. That was such an intimate event for you. That was so stark and striking because you were going to take pictures of the lights being shut off the next night.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's how fast and devastating this can be. The 14 people killed in San Bernardino were just hanging out doing their job.
Really, yeah.
That's usually how it goes. Just, the average Joe doing his job and gets caught at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Right. But now we have given some people, I'll just call them terrorists, we've given them, through technological advances and accessibility, access to technology that is far beyond model airplanes. I was joking with a friend of mine, and he said, these drones have given RC model airplane pilots a bad name.
Really?
Oh, absolutely.
Because now everybody's a culprit.
Right. So, yeah, Joe, I'm sorry.
I guess you can make a weapon out of anything if you really had to. If you ban that, something else will pop up. There's no end to it. I think we just have to change the outlook of human beings. It's part of our character to be violent in one way or the other.
Yeah. Well, Tom, earlier today when we were talking, I asked you, so any plans for a sequel? Oh yeah,
the sequel's in the works as we speak, and I'm very excited about it because it clearly as you read Indefensible, I hope that it left you with the sense that it's not finished.
Oh, absolutely did.
I don't want to take anything away from readers out there, but I'm quite excited about the sequel, and I believe I have an answer, and okay. I think the answer is going to be interesting, and we'll see how it plays out. But it's my biggest fear is that we ignore this, and my hope is that more people read the book, more people start dialoguing about this issue. And you gentlemen, taking a leadership role and inviting me on today is an example of the sensitivity that this is not somebody crying wolf. This is not a sky is falling Chicken Little situation. This is very serious, and I'm fearful that our leadership is not going to be thinking about this until it's too late.
Well, what's funny is that not that funny, but what's interesting is that this is a topic that isn't being widely discussed. It's something that most people probably don't even realize could happen, or any of the situations that we proposed tonight, and then some could happen. Everybody just thinks, oh, I'll just buy a drone and cool, like I could just videotape my neighbor lounging in the backyard in the pool. But,
Right.
When you start breaking it down and thinking about it on the level that you're thinking about it, it's really scary what these drones could be capable of doing.
Right. It gives people the ability to project with impunity pretty much anywhere they want to go.
I know it opened my eyes to these drones.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
So this is the On-Air Radio Show. We are speaking with Tom Banks, the author of the book Indefensible, available on Amazon.com. Tom, where else is it available?
Oh, that's the only. It can be bought at any bookstore that carries that distributes with Amazon. It's available in Kindle and paperback. You can go to my website indefensible.org and you'll be able to read about me and I have some blogging activity going on there and follow me on Drone on One at Twitter and strike up a conversation because I want to be part of the discussion. I invite everyone.
We follow you on Twitter.
I know you do.
We have the Twitter line right here because we're reading it. I'm reading it right now. But it's a scary thought how a toy could just be so devastating.
Absolutely. And it's resonating with people. About 3 weeks ago when I launched my Twitter feed, I had 80 people following me. Today I have about 7,000.
Damn.
And I have
Wow.
no idea how that happened. I didn't buy the Twitter leads. I didn't do anything. It started going organically and people were resonating with it. And I hear from people every day through direct messaging on Twitter that they are afraid. I hear from people reading it in London and Australia and they're saying, I'm afraid. I couldn't sleep last night reading your book.
That is just from what he went to 7,000, like that short a time span.
That's all
just
word of mouth.
shows you right. Just shows you though that this is a subject that some people out there are actually thinking about.
Like Tom said, it's resonating with the people.
I'm going to have to read this book. I'm going to have to borrow your book.
You got it. No
So,
problem.
And I will be sending you a signed copy, Joe.
Thank you very
I've
much.
got that queued up.
I do appreciate that, sir.
if you get an opportunity,
absolutely.
I will. If you could send me one too, that'd be great. I'd like to read this book.
I will send 2 copies.
I'm actually quite, because I didn't get to read the book. Joe did. He read it on the Kindle, and when he started telling me all this stuff, it's just like the little light bulb above my head went on, and I was like, this sounds like a book I would actually read because I'm not a reader.
Jay, how many times did I call you and say, Jay, you have to read this part?
Oh my God, he must have called me at least 3 times, 4 times during the day. You have to read this. You have to read this.
Wow.
I'm like, wow.
Well, that's very kind of you, gentlemen. It was one of the most fun things I've done in terms of the creative process. I didn't know I had a novel in me. And as I shared with Joe today, when I first had it printed out, I didn't realize how big it was, and I took it to Staples on my thumb drive because I didn't have enough ink in my inkjet printer. I knew that. And when he handed me this gigantic pile of paper, and I'm holding my 1-inch binder I brought with me, and he hands me 4 inches of paper, I go, what the heck is this? He goes, it's what you asked us to print. I never had printed it out, so I didn't think of it, how thick it was. It was just a big Word document. So, what a glorious experience it was, and I just am humbled by people's response. I had no idea that I would get this kind of response.
Yeah.
Once again,
my expectation is it will become a movie. I see that in the works.
I was going to ask if he had any ideas of that becoming a movie.
Well, make sure that when you cast the part of the budding young radio interviewers that you pick people who are particularly handsome, because I think
looking at your pictures here, you guys are made for radio, and I will make sure that happens.
Ain't that the truth?
Not unlike myself, believe me.
Outstanding.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, you can follow Thomas Banks on Twitter at DroneOn1. All right, make sure you join him. And it's the number 1. It's Drone on number 1. Well, not the number sign, but you know what I mean. Anyway, follow him on Twitter. Go to his website. Get this book because my boy Joey Ruse read it and said that it's amazing. So if he gives it the thumbs up, then we all give it a thumbs up.
I give it 2 thumbs up.
There you go.
But Tom, before we let you go,
Yes, sir.
we have to ask you this question. Who's your horse in this race?
In this race?
In the politics race?
In the beginning, I was very much a Jeb Bush fan because I believe he's a smart guy, but I couldn't believe that he couldn't mount a campaign. I thought Donald was going to be a punchline, and then after a few months, I started to realize that Donald isn't a punchline. He is a populist, candidate, and it is resonating. And I actually like his thinking. I'm 63 years old, and why are we not better off after 63 years of politics as usual? So as the old saying goes, insanity is when you keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect different results.
So true.
I'm interested in a change, and I'm voting for Donald Trump.
I am too.
It's all about change. It really is.
I agree.
Can't have politics as usual anymore.
I think that's why he's going to be the man, because he's not the typical politician. Been saying that since day one that we've been on the radio. But
and we are seeing that with the reaction of the people. We're seeing that with the turnout. I'm impressed. Is he clumsy? Is he a little unpolished? Yes, but I think people like the fact because that just means he's transparent.
There you go.
And he has no agenda. He just wants to be president.
Just like one of us going out there and running for president. That's basically what he is. He's just the average Joe.
It's the American dream at its finest.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Anybody can be president, and he's demonstrating it. And
more
power to him. He's getting my vote.
Well, Thomas, we appreciate you coming on and giving us this opportunity to discuss this with you. When you come out with the second book, we want to be the first to know, so we'll have you on again when that time comes.
You will have it, I promise.
Thank you, Thomas. We appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Thomas Banks.
All right, thank you.
Author of
Thank you so much.
Indefensible.
God bless you guys and have a great evening. And good show. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We will be emailing you a copy.
You'll be getting your copies.
Great. Thanks, Tom. Take care, and I'll check in with you tomorrow.
Good night, gentlemen.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
So, Thomas Banks, ladies and gentlemen. Thomas Banks joining us from sunny California. Is it still sunny in California right now? It's what?
It's 5:40.
Yeah, so it's still sunny in California.
It's still sunny in Philadelphia. No. I mean, that was an interesting. These two guys were both very interesting personalities. Definitely people I would love to have on again.
Yes.
And I think they were very interesting. They both brought something different to the table.
Absolutely.
But the idea with this drone thing is pretty scary. Like it's exactly what I said when we were interviewing Thomas. It's one of those things that you don't think about when you buy a drone. If you have the opportunity to buy one, like you go into the store, you wouldn't have, if you owned a drone, you wouldn't think of doing something like this. I mean, maybe because you don't have the terrorist mindset, but just the idea of it that, like, you know, these drones could be used for these purposes is pretty freaking scary. They should just stop production on them.
Well, you know, Solomon in the Bible said, "There's nothing new under the sun." What does that basically mean? That if you thought of it, someone thought of it before you.
Absolutely.
So you can pretty well rest assured that somewhere in the mind, somewhere lurking in the caves in the Middle East somewhere, someone is already thinking
That's
about
a little Arab guy learning how to fly a drone.
That's right.
Instead of learning how to shoot an AK-47, they learn how to ride drones now.
They're getting more and more sophisticated, huh?
It is. Yeah. It is. It's a scary, scary thought. It really is.
Okay.
But that was quite the interesting first set of interviews for us. Hopefully, more to come.
Well, we're working on a few things, so we'll be getting them through there.
We're gonna hopefully have more people here on our show on airradioshow.com. We're hopeful that we can get more interviews, and we're hopeful that you'll stick by us through this. Today was a little clumsy because it was our first, but I guarantee you it will get better. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for listening. I want to bid you adieu. Joe, you want to say out?
Folks, thanks for tuning in today, and we appreciate your support. From all of us here in the studio, good night, good day, goodbye.
Voice of God, you wanna say anything on the out?
Well, just keep those cards and letters coming in, folks.
Yeah. The first one we get, we'll give you a T-shirt. How's that sound? The first card or letter that's sent here, we will give you a shirt for free. Ladies and gentlemen, bid you adieu. You have a good one. Enjoy.